Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love. Your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is February the 14th, 2023. And today the topic is falling away. Happy Valentine's Day to all you lovers out there. Special shout out to my husband, Mr. Nadario Says Senior. Those of you all that follow me on social media, you may have already seen my little lovey-dovey post for the day and everything like that. I posted some of a couple of our engagement photos, and I share with you all a little fun fact, and that is that the year that we got married was the year that I started my locks. So there you go, y'all. You know, I say, look. My locks are a representation of our marriage, but I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, they growing. You know what I'm saying? So that's something, right? That's some good there. But they need some work. So, like I said, that's why I'm like, I don't know if it's a good representation at the moment. But you know, with some TLC, you know, they'll look a little better. And I mean, hey, same for marriage in general. I mean, hey, I am grateful for my marriage. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful for it every single day. So I don't have many complaints. I got a couple, you know, but I don't have that many. So to God be the glory, you know, for that. And again, shout out to that gentleman, Mr. Save. Hopefully y'all will get to meet him soon. You look, help your girl get to 1,000 subscribers on the channel. And he'll finally come on there and grace us with his presence. At least that's the deal. Do I got my little image up here? Oh, I don't have the image. Hold on. Yeah, there it is. There it is. The invisible man. Help me, y'all. Help me. Get me to 1,000 subscribers. And he will be on the channel. Come see y'all. Like I said, maybe we'll do some of that couple stuff, like, ooh, how y'all met and all that good stuff like that. Maybe he'll be on an episode of GSL. I don't know. Like, we're gonna see what we end up doing, but y'all, that's the goal, to get to 1,000. But hey, we are really close to the 500. So thank you to those of you all who have liked, subscribed, shared, all those wonderful things. You know, that was our goal before the end of the year last year, to get to 500. So we almost there. I mean, I think we're still in like 3 something right now, but you know, I'm grateful for everybody that subscribes and shares and everything. I feel like I got a little bit of a list, but I think it's because I bit my tongue yesterday. So I didn't realize just how much that was still affecting me until now. I'm over here like, eh. But anyway, sorry if I sound weird or whatever. But anyway, let me tell y'all about yesterday real quick. So long story short, I mean, not too much to report. I was trying my best to kind of woosah, because I knew we had some things to do today. But yesterday I did record a episode of GSL. Deep conversation. Lord help us. But it's needed. So yeah. So shout out to my guest yesterday, actually a repeat guest, but I won't ruin it. I'll let you guys, you know, see and hear from this guest when the episode airs. But yeah, I did that yesterday, and then I tried my best to just chill. So yeah, as I reflected, obviously, on the things that I was sharing with you all yesterday in regards to, like, you know, these different opportunities on the table and everything like that. And yeah, so that's pretty much what my day looked like yesterday. As for this morning, I mean, well, I was waking to my husband's kiss, true love's kiss. But he kissed me rather early this morning, and I didn't pay attention to the time, but it was like maybe 1 or 2, something like that. And I was up ever since then. I didn't necessarily go back to sleep. Um, I was up, answering messages, looking at things that I had missed, different things like that. Um, and yeah, basically at some point, I listened to the prayer meditation around 4, a little bit after 4, because I was listening to something else when the alarm went off. And yeah, listen to the prayer meditation, and then afterwards, there was just this thought had crossed my mind, like, not the what if this is real thought, but like, or what if this is not real per se, but that's the only way I can explain it in this moment. Like, what if I just, and not just me, but this is the best way I can explain it. It's like, it was a feeling like, or a thought that was kind of like, what I think in general, I was kind of thinking about like people that unbelievers, and reasons why people gravitate towards unbelief of the Bible, unbelief of Jesus and everything that the Bible tells us, versus going their own way and getting into their own things and ideas, or into the things and ideas that intrigues them most. I know as an African American person, people take issue with slavery. I guess the fact that it was mentioned in the Bible at all, and things like that, which is interesting because on one hand, I'm like, well, did you read it? Did you read what it said, or are you just going off of what somebody else says about it? Because the slavery in the Bible, from my understanding, I suggest that you read it on your own. But from my understanding is that like it talks about like a certain amount of time. It talks about a certain amount of servitude for debt. And then how you should treat that person and everything like that. So just because it was called slavery doesn't mean that it's the same thing that, African Americans experience, nor the same thing that other, nationalities have experienced, because people might have used that system as a, means to oppress, or means to, um, and unfortunately, I mean, as bad as we think about when we think about, African American slavery and whatnot, to understand that that type of stuff is still going on today, in the form of human trafficking that nobody wants to believe. Not laughing at the situation. I'm just kind of like, just addressing, and maybe it's nervous laughter, or maybe it's like the laughter at the idea that it's not true. Because at the end of the day, we hear about all the things. Anyway. So I'm just saying, as an African American, I know that that's one thing that, African Americans in particular may, feel like there's an issue with believing the Bible because of that. There's an issue with believing the Bible because slave owners may have used it to, again, oppress and everything like that. I don't buy into the narrative that Black people didn't know about Jesus, because it doesn't make any sense to me. Just knowing that Christianity, right, or the Gospels, or what we know as the Bible, or all of these things came from, technically, right, an African nation. To me, there's no way that it made it to Europe and then to America without reaching the, other parts of that same continent. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But hey, people want to believe what they want to believe. But anyway, so that's just one part, right? I mean, there's plenty of people that aren't African Americans that still may not quote unquote subscribe or believe in what the Bible has to say. And so I guess my mind was on that this morning. And then at some point I just was kind of cold, kind of distant feeling or emotion. And that's when the phrase falling away came into my heart and mind. And so that's what I ended up studying this morning. I ended up, of course, going to openbible.info and going deeper about the concept of sin, going deeper about what I learned, this word apostasy and everything like that. And so, yeah, that's where the inspiration came from today. And I know today is supposed to be this day of love and everything like that. But perhaps this is a love letter to us, right? Believers and unbelievers, right? To us as humans. The fact that we're addressing this conversation of falling away today. Because, I believe that the things that I share today, these verses and whatnot, they were all written, in my humble opinion, as like a warning for us, right? It's letting us know ahead of time that, hey, there's a risk of this happening, and there's a risk of you being part of this, this whole thing of apostasy, right? And so with that being said, when you know something in advance, you can try your best to combat that and everything, depending on whether you receive it or not. Now, if you've never heard apostasy before, the definition says the abandonment or renunciation of a religious or political belief. Renunciation, I looked up that definition as well. I didn't write it down, but it pretty much was saying the same thing. I ended up going deeper by looking at calm.org. Y'all know that's one of my main places to go for apologetics or for Christian content in particular, to go deeper and whatnot. And so I came across this article called "What is Apostasy?" and it addresses, how different ways that apostasy can happen. I'll read a few of the ways that it says. It says from, our own desires, by false teaching, by persecution, temptation, and unbelief. It also talks about doctrinal and moral apostasy and everything like that. So by all means, y'all go deeper and see what this article has to say, but obviously it's based on what the word has to say about all of this, and get a better understanding if that's what you need to do. But I'm going to go ahead and get into the word, right, and share with you guys these verses that I came across and felt led to share this morning. And we're going to start with 1 Timothy 4:1. It says, "Now the Spirit expressly say that in later times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and teachings of demons." Ooh. Well, I feel like I see this happening all around us. We don't probably want to think that that's what it is. We want to think that, oh, it's our culture, right? We want to think that, oh, it's this or that. But I guess, again, when you get into the word, you get into like an understanding of what has happened and all these different type of things. And just the basic principle of Christianity is pretty much saying that anything outside of Christ is antichrist. Then for me, I can only speak for myself, but I would think that if you really get, deep into it and look into these things and read it for yourself and study for yourself and all these different type of things, then you'll see how it is that, there's all these different religions, and how it is that there's all these different, this people live like this over here and people live like that over there and people live like this over here. And a lot of it specifically goes against Christianity in particular. Not really addressing all other things and whatnot. Just, I just find that to be interesting. Like anywhere you go or whatever the case is, you might see people of the faith, but then you'll see people that are like really, really gung-ho against Christianity in particular. So much so where they mock it, or they use the imagery or whatever the case is, in their own perverted ways or whatever. And so, I know I don't know if it sounds crazy, or if I don't know if it's like simplifying it to be like, oh, it's demonic, but again, when you look at this, just the simple message of the Bible saying that anything that's not of Christ is antichrist, then again, you can see like, this concept of like principalities and dominions, right? And how certain nations may have this, or certain states, even in the US, may have this spirit over them, or all these different type of things. You'll start to like see this stuff a little bit more clearly, I guess, once you study, right? But anyway, so yeah, it warns us here that it's very specific to say, in a later time, some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits. So I would say, with that in our hearts and minds, y'all, we just need to be careful, right, of the things that we take in. We need to be careful of, what we gravitate to and what we choose to believe, because those ideas may have dire consequences, man. You know what? Okay, Lord. I think it was this morning that I saw, there's a organization. What are they called? Oh goodness, I think it's Exodus Cry, I believe, and it talks about like how the porn industry has, the negative effect that the porn industry has. It also touches on like human trafficking and just all these things, bringing awareness and also doing things to combat some of these things. And I saw this video of briefly, I just saw they shared on their Instagram recently. I either saw it last night or this morning, anyway, where there was a porn star that was doing some type of, looked like a press conference or something like that, where she was sharing that she now has HIV. And talking about, I guess, how, obviously on set, the use of condoms and things like that aren't practiced and everything like that. And so now, hey, no judgment from me, in regards to those situations. All I can say is that, I mean, I remember in grade school, and I don't know what they teaching kids now in regards to health class and everything like that, but I do remember in grade school they talked about, the consequences of unprotected sex and all those things, and STDs was one of those consequences. And so obviously, if you're in an industry where you're having a lot of unprotected sex, one of the consequences of that most likely will be an XTD, right? Now that's simple on an earthly scale to think about, but then let's think about this thing spiritually, right? Because at the end of the day, really, I believe all things boil down to the spiritual aspect of the thing. And that's not just because of the consequences, but just, again, seeing this woman now, emotional and everything about, what has happened and whatnot. I don't know what she's thinking, I don't know what she's feeling. And in regards to, I don't personally know. But I understand that there's reasons why people do certain things, and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess I'll just share that testimony to just say that at the end of the day, there are dire consequences to the choices that we make. And if we're not being led by God, right, then we are being led by something. And we may not see, we might not have a problem with the things or the way that we live up until we, again, get consequences to those actions. And unfortunately, some of us may not get the opportunity to uh turn back around, right? To repent and everything like that. So if you are a believer, right? I guess this goes for believers, this conversation about falling away. I mean, the word has a lot to say about, knowing the truth, um, but still falling away or whatever the case is. And so, I guess just really, really, if you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, right, and you're, debating about which way you want to go, I mean, the least you could do, in my little humble opinion, is really consider the options. For me, when I think about again where I used to be in life and everything like that, um, I don't think it's worth falling away. I don't think it's worth, risking um the blessings and things that the Lord has bestowed upon me. Um, when it comes to, yes, my husband, my family, all these different things that the Lord has done with me, for me, and through me, you know. And yes, I'm human. I get tempted and all these different type of things. But at the end of the day, I have to lean and depend on the Lord, right? And I have to, we all have to be a little stronger when it comes to these different things. Because I just read to you guys different ways that we can be, you know, um, find ourselves in apostasy, right? Or find ourselves falling away from the faith. And that can include, our own desires, again, false teaching, persecution, temptation, and even just plain old unbelief. And so, um, just something to think about, y'all. This is just something to think about in advance before we get into situations or anything like that. So let's keep going, y'all. Revelation 2, 4, and 5. It says, "But I have this against you, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. Remember, therefore, from where you have fallen, repent and do the works you did at first. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place unless you repent." Whew. Um, again, this reminds me about the parable with the talents. This reminds me of I guess everything I was just saying a moment ago. Like, at the end of the day, if you are a believer, right, and you are falling away, not only will that have dire consequences on you, but it probably is going to have dire consequences on your circle of influence. You know, again, no judgment, right? I'm just sharing with y'all some things I've observed. All right. There's this artist that I gravitated to, especially when I started this, I want to say, when I started in 2020. And I noticed that his music seems to have changed a bit. Now I get it. People go through different stages of life and X, Y, and Z. Absolutely. Again, I share my testimony all the time, the ups and downs and X, Y, and Z, right? I'm not perfect, nothing like that. I'm just sharing because, with him seemingly to be a popular artist, right? Now that he's doing this different type of music, it's like I'm wondering how his audience is receiving it, right? How his audience is now looking at the faith based on him. Now, I know, again, we can't judge Christianity by the Christians, right? We need to be looking at Christ and everything like that, which is, again, another important thing to think about when we're thinking about, like, the faith in general. I even went deeper this morning and looked into, again, the fundamental things of being a Christian and whatnot, and the fundamental beliefs or whatever the case is. Just reminding myself about those things because, there's a lot of things that people go back and forth about when it comes to the Bible. But then there's just certain things that, across the board, if you're going to be a believer, that you have to believe, right? And one of those main things is that Jesus is God. And so, yeah, I mean, again, y'all can go deeper with all of that, but it's just important, y'all. It's important, not just, again, for you, but then again, your circle of influence. And so, it will behoove us to do what this verse is saying, which is go back to our first love, right? and to not abandon, the works that we did in the beginning for Christ. And so, yeah. I mean, unless you want your lampstand removed, right? Unless you want those talents and gifts taken away from you and given to another. Um, and that's the thing too. I know, like I talked about this yesterday, and here it is again. Like I know the unbelievers, right, seem to be the most quote unquote successful in this world. They're the ones that have all the money, right? They're the ones that have all the followers. They're the ones that have all the influence and all these different type of things. And we look to those people because they seem to be successful, and everything like that. They seem to be cool, whatever the case is. And but at the end of the day, just like I guess that rich man that that Jesus told that, hey, at the end of the day, if you want to be perfect, give up all your riches here, you will have riches in heaven. And that person turned away. Obviously, I guess because he had a lot of riches. And I guess he didn't see himself doing that. And I am curious to know, like, what happened to that individual. Did he spend the rest of his days reflecting on that choice? Did that affect his life, or whatever the case is? Like, who knows, right? But yeah, like they say, man, what would it profit a man to gain the world but lose their soul? So yeah, just something to think about again with this whole falling away conversation. Ooh, apparently this is deep today, y'all. Look, the love letter to the Lord for y'all, okay? You don't want us falling away out here. So I think that's what it ultimately is the message. But let's keep going. Matthew 24:10 through 13, it says, and then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold, but the one who endures till the end will be saved. Who, Lord? Well, again, I mean, just another warning for us. Again, what is your minister teaching? Is it more about them and what you can do for them? Unfortunately, yes, I do have a couple of images in my heart and mind right now, especially, the video that I saw about this pastor that was, I guess, I don't know if he was preaching on a pastor's anniversary and was like, condemning his congregation for not getting him a Rolex or whatever he was talking about. And things like that. Or, are you getting Bible, straight up Bible? Are you getting the message of Christ when you go to church? All these things matter. And this is how you'll know, whether you are under a false preacher or not, right? Or a false teacher. You'll know them by their fruits at the end of the day. So again, let's just be careful. Like, let's be careful to not find ourselves in these traps to fall away from the faith, because of those that aren't, that are morally, that have moral apostasy, right? The type of apostasy that's like, they say that they're believers, but then they don't operate like believers, right? They don't live like believers. And again, all of us are sinning and falling short. Not saying they got to be perfect, but at the end of the day, leaders and teachers and all that are going to be held to another standard. I stand by that because that's what the words say, and everything like that. But at the end of the day, knowing at the end of the day that we need to be honoring the Lord and pointing towards Christ, it's the ultimate goal, and that should be the ultimate goal. 2 Corinthians 11:3, y'all. But I am afraid that as the serpent deceived Eve by his cunning, your thoughts will be led astray from a sincere and pure devotion to Christ. Hey, y'all, again, on this Valentine's Day, this love letter to the Lord, from the Lord, is letting us know that he's afraid that we're going to be deceived like Eve was. And the main thing about that deception is him making her believe that she wasn't who God said she was. Because God said that Adam and Eve was made in his image. And the serpent got them to doubt that. And tempted them with this concept of being like God when they were already like God. So not God now. Can we be, because we like humans out here trying to say they God. Not God, but like God or in God's image. And with the authority that he gave us over the land and everything like that. Anywho, one more verse, y'all, before I let y'all go and before I give y'all the Bible verse of today. And that is Hebrews 10:26 and 27. This is the last verse to share in regards to the Jews. It says, for if we go on sinning deliberately after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a fearful expectation of judgment and a fury of fire that will consume the adversaries. I know that this juice may be full of pulp today. Yeah, maybe you all aren't encouraged and inspired at all. I don't know. I mean, but I hope that more than anything that you see this again as a love letter to us, a warning to us, a reminder to us that we could easily fall from the faith. We can easily find ourselves in apostasy by, again, all the different things that I mentioned earlier, going from our own desires to even being, persecuted and all those different type of things. And so rather than that, the Lord lets us know in advance of these things and the possibility of them happening. And, I guess, he wanted me to remind us all today, right, that, rather than that, he would prefer that we return to our first love, obviously be faithful to our first love, which is Christ, and do the works, that we first did when we first came to Christ. So I don't know what that means for you, friends, but I know they talk about, like, when someone first comes to Christ, there's so much zeal, there's so much excitement, and there's so much, like, wanting to share the faith and all these different type of things. And so, I think rather than falling away, let's get back into that. Let's get a fire lit in us to shine bright, right? So we don't take the lampstand away, but put it in a more place of prominence, so that at the end of the day, the glory and honor can come back to him. And that's the juice. That is the juice. Now listen, the Bible verse of today is Romans 12:10. It says, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Happy Valentine's Day again, friends. Bye-bye. And there you go, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, anybody listening to the sound of my voice. I hope that you all are encouraged and inspired. Again, thank you to each and every one of you all that like, subscribe, share, everything like that. I hope that you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. No plans per se. I know I'm supposed to record an episode of GSL. NJ has a class. I might do my nails. I need to. I done picked most of it off. Even though it gets a nice little effect of, like, what is it called? Like a French effect. But I'll be honest and say I just picked them off, which I shouldn't do. I know. But yeah, so maybe I'll do my nails and show y'all. We'll see. But yeah, unless I get a surprise or something, I don't know if we're doing anything in regards to Valentine's Day. But like I post at the end of the day, every day is Valentine's Day when you're with someone that loves you unconditionally. And yeah. I mean, even as I sit here and then look at my little, gift that he made me and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't complain, man. I can't complain out here, Yes, I love you, whatever. I know at some point this morning I was thinking about like again the how we met story, and the fact that he says on his end he saw me before that time that we met. And I don't know how long it was between when he first saw me and then the second time he saw me, which was when I saw him. um, but I guess maybe we'll talk about that. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about all of that for you all and whatnot. But yeah, I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye bye.